Today, I will be reviewing the new Dspiae Wash-Free Airbrush, testing it on Gunpla and minis using both acrylic and lacquer paints. Let's see if it's really worth it. New Type is a fast and reliable source for Gunpla supplies in the US. For my fellow Canadians, Argama Hobby is offering my viewers an exclusive 10% discount. Check out their large stock of kits, tools, and paints. I was recently sent a variety of Dspiae products, but this video focuses on the airbrush. This is an honest review covering both the pros and cons. I was not paid to make this video. Dspiae simply sent the products and I had total freedom in the content. While this airbrush does have its advantages, almost each one comes with a small limitation, which I will be sharing later. The main selling point of this product is that it's wash-free. Insert a 0.3 or 0.5 needle into the bottle head, screw on the paint bottle, align the needle with the spray head, and press the trigger. Once you're done, unscrew the paint bottle. This avoids the cleaning involved with a traditional airbrush and saves the cost of lacquer thinner. I have to say that I was very skeptical about this whole system, especially with so many detached parts. To my surprise, the application is quite smooth. Because paint travels directly from the bottle needle, you avoid issues like spitting or clogging. You can even control the paint release to some extent. Lower the needle for a misty coat and raise it for a stronger coat. I got a very clean coat of primer on my Warhammer Mini. This airbrush works with all paints thinned to standard airbrush consistency. It sprayed the Dspiae pre-thinned water-based paints very smoothly. I tried priming my Mini with a Mr. Hobby lacquer primer and it worked wonderfully. While I worried that the lacquer paint might melt this soft plastic tube, I have kept it in the primer for over a week without warping. I also wondered if the airbrush would work with a thicker paint like the Odenkan Basic Color, which I mentioned the problems of in a recent paint project. Look at this thick residue it tends to leave in comparison to a Gaia Notes paint. The airbrush was unable to spray the Odenkan paint, whereas my traditional airbrush was able to push it through. However, I had no issues with Gaia paints. I'd say this airbrush takes a thinner consistency paint. With my Mr. Hobby and Gaia, that's 1 paint to 1.5 thinner ratio. If you keep the lid closed, the needles won't clog for at least 2 days. It did clog by day 3, but I got the paint flowing just by spraying. I also found that I could clean the bottle heads and needles relatively well by running thinner through them in a designated cleaning bottle. Of course, replace this thinner eventually. The Dspiae bottle tops fit my standard Amazon bottles, so I could use my pre-thinned paints without rebottling. This also lets me reuse the Dspiae bottles with Amazon lids later. Do keep the paints upright if you plan to store them with the Dspiae lids on. For the direct links to these bottles or any of the products and accessories I used to paint in this video, you can find them on my US and Canadian Amazon storefronts. Purchases send a small commission my way at no extra cost to you, which helps me to continue creating content like this. Now let's move on to the cons, which kind of go hand in hand with the pros. The airbrush is wash-free, but if you plan to reuse the needles or bottle heads, which are pricier than other bottles, you still need to wash those parts. The only way to be truly wash-free is using the dedicated bottles for all of your paints. This airbrush has no adjustable trigger control, just a push button. You can adjust paint flow slightly by raising or lowering the bottle, but it's not really precise enough for painting that requires finer control. While it worked really well on minis and spoons, I struggled a bit to get the really smooth and even color coverage that I personally aim for on my Gunpla parts without using too much or little paint. Of course, this can vary with personal expectations and preferences. Gunpla parts are complex with a variety of sizes, angles, and details. However, it could be useful as a primer and top coat airbrush. You also can't use it to blow dust off parts, because even if you lower lower the needle, the painting airflow is not strong enough. With the lack of trigger control, this airbrush might pair better with a mini compressor so you can adjust the PSI more easily as you paint. I actually think this would have been a really strong product if it came with a built-in compressor. The airbrush requires specialized accessories, bottles, needles, and its own airbrush holder. Costs can add up if you buy 10 to 20 bottles to fully use the wash-free feature. The airbrush holder that comes with it needs to be propped up with the Dspiae holder to accommodate the bottle, or make your own. I ended up finding a position that worked okay on my own airbrush holder. The markers Dspiae sent me also didn't work with this airbrush, so compatibility seems limited. While painting, this bottle moved up and down quite easily while I was handling parts with my other hand, holding onto the paint bottle, or the hose twisting the lightweight airbrush out of place. This airbrush is made of plastic and lightweight, which is fine for me, but the design is not very ergonomic. A traditional gravity feed airbrush can sit in my hand at a relaxed position. The plastic and front-heavy airbrush requires a stronger grip. I felt like my hands got tired more quickly after 10 to 20 minutes. When paint gets low, you have to hold the airbrush straight to ensure the tube is able to feed the paint up to the needle, which is not the most natural position. Having heard all the pros and cons, you probably want me to tell you whether to buy this airbrush or not. Well, it really depends on your situation and preference. You should buy this airbrush if you really dislike washing it and are willing to pay for the convenience. Airbrush, holder, needles, and plenty of spare bottles to make it worth it. Personally, I will be using it for priming and top coating my minis, which are small, detailed, and don't take much time to paint. I also found myself reaching for this airbrush to test colors on spoons, which can actually take quite a long time when you have to wash an airbrush for every spoon. I plan to have some essential primer and surfacer, gray, black, and white, permanently in the Dspiae bottles. I did feel like I was saving a lot of time and also the cost of cleaning thinner. Personally, I wouldn't buy this airbrush if I was on a really low budget. The costs add up when you buy all the specialized tools that aren't compatible with other products. If I were to give advice to a friend new to the hobby, I would recommend slowly investing in products that can be used universally over the long term instead. Although I have read reviews of people happily doing so, I wouldn't buy this as my first airbrush. There are cheap traditional ones for 30 to 40 USD. I also think it lacks control for certain types of paint jobs and kits and is not suitable for longer paint sessions. Overall, while I don't think this is a good starting investment for Gunpla, it can be a useful product if you are already a seasoned painter who owns all the basics and wants additional options. Of course, this is my own opinion. Let me know if you guys will be buying this airbrush and what you plan to use it for. I hope you found this review helpful. Content like this is made possible through my Patreon. Patrons who support this channel receive special perks like real-time extended versions of my work-in-progress videos and access to my private Discord server where you can chat with me and fellow Gunpla hobbyists. See you in the next one.